Welcome back to another enlightening episode of the Genetic Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lulu, and today we're embarking on a transformative journey that will revolutionize the way you approach your weight loss goals for long-lasting results. We have a remarkable guest with us today, Dr. Jessie Haymeyer, the visionary physician and founder of Well Empowered. Dr. Haymeyer's commitment is clear, guiding you to create health and vitality that not only transforms your experience of life, but also redefines what's possible for you. How does she accomplish this extraordinary feat? By embracing a root cause, natural medicine approach. Whether it's through one-on-one consultations, group sessions, or corporate webinars, Dr. H equips individuals with the knowledge, inspiration, and strategies needed to produce sustainable and transformative health outcomes. But that's just the beginning of our journey today. Dr. Haymeyer will unpack the concept of data-driven, outcome-oriented functional medicine, sharing insights that can reshape your understanding of health. She'll also unveil a captivating success story of a client who experienced astonishing outcomes through this approach. And finally, we'll ask Dr. Haymeyer a fascinating question. If she could grant everyone a superpower to enhance their health journey, what would it be? Her response promises to be thought-provoking and inspiring. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready for an episode that could be the turning point in your health journey. Join us as we delve into the world of revolutionary wellness with Dr. Jessie Haymeyer, right here on the Genetic Genius. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Genetic Genius Podcast. I'm so thrilled to have my guest today, Dr. Jessie Haymeyer. Welcome, Dr. Jessie H. Dr. H.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lulu. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your community.
Wow. Oh, great. Welcome. I'm so excited for us to talk about a really important topic today is weight loss, because of course, listeners that are tuning in the hormone world and genetics, this is a big topic we always have questions about. So I love to have experts like yourself on to help us give the highlights, but to really provide insights into how we can achieve the goals and results we're looking for. But before we dive deep down into this topic today, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, tell it a little bit about what makes you tick, what's your passion, things like that.
Yeah, sure. Yes, as you said, I'm Dr. Jessie Haymeyer. And really what makes me tick is partnering with people and guiding them to a future where they have the health, the foundation of health they need to fully author their lives. That just lights me up like nobody's business. And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yes.
To me, health and vitality, it is the foundation to live the life you intend, to experience joyfully, to create fully, to evolve. All of these different things, health is our access to it, health and vitality. So it is just getting to do this work I just adore it. I love it every single day. That's a big part of what I love. And then personally, I love being with my family and friends. I love being active. As I was sharing just before we hopped on today, my husband and I have been on an adventure the last couple of years. We actually work remotely from Switzerland. And so I adore these mountains near us and hiking in them, and really just living in an environment that fosters, there's just health everywhere, right? It really is conducive to keeping stress at a minimum, to being super active, to eating whole foods. And these are all things that bring me great joy too.
I love that, Dr. H. And you hit right at my own personal heart, because I resonate with everything that you said. And I live in the mountains too, as we were talking about before the show started. And I think that living close to nature, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Even though I'm a big city girl, I love the city. Give me like New York, Manhattan on any day, I'd just be so happy. But I get burned out really quickly in that environment. I have to have my nature and recharge to really, like you said, to increase my vitality. So I think that you've really hit on some important points for our listeners to make sure they're getting their outside and nurturing outside and inside.
Yes, the vitamin N is real.
That's right. Vitamin N. Yes, we all need it more.
Truly.
Yeah. I love that about your journey. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what inspired you to create Well Empowered, your business behind the scenes, or your business, who you are really, and with a spin or focus on functional medicine. And because I think that's a really important part of what you do. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about really what was the inspiration behind starting that.
Yeah. So for me, it came to life out of my own journey and my own beyond the academics and studying of natural medicine and functional medicine, using it for myself and also
Mhm.
the other tools that I've gathered along the way, whether it's yoga or courses grounded in ontology, like the study of being,
Mm.
and spiritual readings, all these different things. For me, when I created Well Empowered, I created it with the intention of really partnering with people and guiding them in almost like a course on themselves and their
Mm.
health
Mhm.
and what it means to be a human being making changes, right? Because to make changes sometimes can be more challenging than some changes are more challenging than others for all human beings, as far as I can
Right.
tell. Being someone's companion on that journey means making sure that they have, yes, the information they need about their health and their body, but also they have an access to inspiration, right? And actually strengthening it as a muscle, like a practice thing to stay engaged in the journey. And also they gather strategies along the way. So when
Mhm.
I created Well Empowered, it really was the mission is people bringing their gifts fully to the world and inspiring others to do the same, which really is just exactly what we were talking about earlier, health being the foundation to it all.
Right.
And through this work, yes, it's bringing the data in and the science in, but it's also bringing the heart in.
Science meets heart. So true. So true. And I think that's an important part about what you're saying too, helping people learn the foundations of health. And sometimes I think those just get, I don't know, tossed off into the wind, so to speak. They're like, but when we come back to them, when we realize when we're working on those foundations, like water, sleep, nutrition, all those goodies, that's what really we can see establishes our house, right? That good foundational core where we don't, if we lose a leg, we don't fall off the side of the mountain. And we have to have that good foundation. And we see that then overflows into all the other areas of our life too.
Definitely, absolutely. And I'm sure you see this too. I always think it's interesting when I first start working with someone and they might ask me about almost like I think about it like if you've ever seen the glass and the rocks and the sand, and it's the game of can you fit it all in there? And you've
Mhm.
got to put the big rocks in first, and then you can like that's the game. That's how you have it all work. But sometimes people come in and they're asking about the grains of sand, and no, we got to start with the rocks.
Right.
I bet if we just get these rocks handled, the sand's just going to take care of itself.
Exactly. Yes. I love that you brought up that analogy because it is true. I think sometimes we don't look and see what can be the biggest change. What can we do to really implement right away to get the biggest change, the biggest results that we might not be seeing? And that's why people, listeners out there, see doctors like us because they want to see with our doctor glasses on, as we both have glasses on. They want to have our vision, right? We can see all the little avenues that someone might be missing with our detective knowledge and really getting into the root cause of the problem.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So you mentioned a key term, I think a few minutes ago, is that data driven outcome. And I think that's a piece that I would love for us to talk a little about too. Can you, if you could explain what that approach is for our listeners so they can understand the difference between that data driven approach and a conventional medical model? Because I think this is a hot topic, right? Where what does that mean? Where we're really looking at data that can help drive our health results, prevention and wellness from that quantitative, qualitative aspect.
Yeah. So I think about the data driven approach is also more of a root cause approach, right?
Hmm.
So
Yes.
starting by, first of all, really, understanding where someone is in their health, but also where
Hmm.
they've been personally in their health, their family history, all these different things that layer on top of one another to create the current state of affairs, so to speak, the current
Right.
health state. And first of all, just by understanding that and And that's not a quick intake form or a 3-minute conversation, right? That's a 90-minute conversation to really better understand someone's health state. That helps us identify the missing puzzle pieces, and those puzzle pieces are labs, right? And so getting the data in those labs, and I'm sure you do the same thing. When I send people to go complete their labs, I let them know you're going to feel like you're donating blood, right? Because we're getting a lot of information, but not because it's cute, because we're not throwing darts, right? We want to understand where your personal physiological, genetic, biological points of leverage are for us to support you in your healing journey. Right. And that's what we get. And some of those are blood tests, and some of them aren't. Some of them are microbiome tests. Some of them are adrenal assessments, right? All these wonderful tests. But the important thing is we need the right information for the person in front of us so that we can use that to begin to plan the healing journey ahead, right? Use that information to be targeted in our approach. And then also check back in to watch those numbers shift over time. Obviously, we expect people to begin to feel better or symptoms to resolve, and maybe it's the number on the scale to shift, but also we want to go back and check those numbers, that data, to make sure it's moving too.
Oh, yes. That was a great explanation, because I think it's so important for listeners to understand that how important functional medicine lab work is. And it does give us a really inside view of what's happening in the body, but from this very individualized perspective. And I think that's a key piece that stands out from conventional medicine, functional medicine, and naturopathic medicine, right? So we look at the functional medicine labs, and we're looking at your case as an individual, not as a sum of, okay, everybody that has X, we're going to give them this particular pharmaceutical or this particular thing, right? That doesn't help people. And we're really realizing that. We're like, no, this is why, well, you're not in America at the moment, but why in the United States, why our healthcare system is failing.
It's true. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But patients all over the world, is that correct?
I do. Most of the people who I work with remain in the US just by design. Part of the design being that I want to hike in the morning and not work from morning till 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. So I do see people all over the world, but most of the people who I work with are in the US.
Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah.
I also joke that the Swiss people don't really need me anyway. Which is partially true. Partially.
Right, partially. So
they need me less. They need us less.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, of Europeans in general, we do see that the healthier lifestyle, healthier culture, and hopefully people are learning more in the United States how to create a better, healthier culture for themselves, which is why I have the Genetic Genius podcast, so people can learn about different things. Yes. What do you think, Dr. H, in your experience? So what are some of the main common misconceptions people have about weight loss? Let's switch our conversation here, talking about weight loss. And I'd love for us to talk first about like the misconceptions. So like the myth busters, let's break them down. And then I want to talk more about your approach. But first, let's break some of those misconceptions down.
Okay, great. One recurring myth is it must be my thyroid. Yes. Yeah, I know. Don't you encounter this all the time, right? Like women in particular who are like, I hope it's my thyroid. I hope it's my thyroid. I hope it's my thyroid. Because they're like, well, if it's my thyroid, I'll just take a medication and like that it'll just be handled. Right. It's two things. It's probably not your thyroid. And even if your thyroid is involved, I can say with 99.9% confidence, it's not just your thyroid, right? So yes, you absolutely do need a well-functioning thyroid. For some people, that means appropriate support, but it's never, so far in my experience, just your thyroid, even if your thyroid's involved.
That's a great myth buster. Yes, number one, thyroid.
Yeah, number one. Number two is that exercise is the way to lose weight. And I love movement and I love exercise. It lights my soul up, no question. And it's just not the way to lose weight, right? It's a very important part of our health, and it's important for myriad reasons. And from the weight perspective, the biggest vote we can give for ourselves is in the strength training world, because if we're not strength training and we lose weight, we lose muscle as well as fat. So we lose weight
Right.
indiscriminately. We lose it all, and we never want to lose muscle. Muscle is our metabolic magic maker, right?
Mm,
What uses more calories than any other tissue we can control in the body, right? It's the only one we have access to really building, right?
mhm,
And what keeps us safe. It helps us be able to do things as we age. It protects us from falls and all kinds of wonderful things. So
mhm,
in the big myth is, okay, I need to exercise more to lose weight. It's typically just not true. We need to
mm,
definitely make sure we're doing meaningful strength training. And we want to be moving for lots of different reasons, but it's not the whole calorie burning mindset does not work.
mm-mm. No, yeah, those are great. I really like that you brought that piece up around exercise because especially when you mentioned the thyroid and adrenal fatigue, when someone says it's in those particular situations, and then they think if I just exercise more, the weight will come off, and then it sends them into this whole like downward spiral of exhaustion.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
not a
Totally,
good place to
totally.
be.
It like brings me such joy when I'm working with someone and they say at first, maybe a little sheepishly, I didn't get that much sleep the night before, so I decided not to exercise in the morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, yay.
Yay!
Like,
Right,
I
yes.
mean, I want you to move and I know it's a priority for you, but that you chose what was right for your body in
Mm,
that day. Yay. That's what
right.
I want to hear.
Yes. Yay. I know, not pushing ourselves to do, I just got to do it. That's an old mindset. I think that as women are really realizing the new woman of 2023/2024 is empowered to make her own
Yes.
decisions about her health and self care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we busted some of those myths there. And then talk to us a little bit about how your approach addresses these misconceptions, which you did a little bit, but then maybe we should just talk more about how does your approach differ or what is so unique about your approach?
Yeah, I would say a few things. One is I actually, before we even dig into numbers and the labs, we start on a journey where people get very clear on their intention for their health and their life.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes from my belief that we don't quote unquote buy what we do, we buy why we do it. Right. And so oftentimes people want to know, okay, just give me a diet. What should I do? Like that kind of a thing. And it's true that we need to gear people up with effective actions, the what. But if they're not clear on their why, it's fundamentally, I really believe it's one of the reasons why the diet industry thrives, but ends up failing people over and over again, is because it's all
Mm-hmm.
about the what. And people never are guided to really sit back and think about what is my health for,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the number on the scale, if that were super compelling, people would have had their weight handled a long time ago,
Right.
right?
Yes.
But the truth is, yeah, you want to look your best, but really it's access to feeling your best and feeling your
Exactly.
best physically, mentally, spiritually, every dimension of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being able to interact with the outside world with confidence and calmness and being connected to yourself and any other higher being that you feel connected to. But that's
Mm-hmm.
really what it's for. So when people can get clear on their why, the actual journey itself shifts.
Exactly.
It's like putting
Mm-hmm.
on a different color, different lenses in your glasses. Is wow, oh wow, this is, or maybe it's more appropriately said, removing colored lenses, and you're just
Yes, how your vision
right.
changes clearly. Yeah, totally.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. So to me, this is really where I start guiding people in a process of creating their intention, and maybe more appropriately, it's thing or authoring it, because I really find it's in people, and
Hmm.
we're just teasing it out, and then they come up with what it is, and from there, when we start to get information and start the process of integrating it into life, which
Hmm.
is a process, right? I don't give people diets Like I'm not telling people what to eat, but
Mhm.
we're talking about the key things that are going to support their journey. And then
Mhm.
a little bit like crossing the monkey bars, we're going to pull in one or two things and practice those. And once those have become more habitual, more natural, then we're going to grab the next monkey bar and we're going to bring in the next aspect of change and layer them over time so that people arrive at a place where they have a whole new way of relating to food and beverages and movement and sleep and all these different things, but it
Mhm.
all comes from a place of love rather than self-aggression or deprivation.
Right. Yes, because those don't really work, which we've seen with your explaining the model, the diet model, and why it's failing. And those are great. Thank you for sharing that particular aspect because it's really important for people to understand that when it comes to making a change. I liked how you really talked about the habitual aspect, really ingraining something that a new thing that you really love. And you mentioned a couple pieces there when creating these habits where we're looking to create something new to make a shift that is lasting. And I think that's one piece that definitely fails in the traditional weight loss model is that it's the quick fix. I got to lose this weight, maybe for, I don't know, for a party, right? Like the black
Right, the
dress
finish
weight loss
line.
plan, right? And
Yes.
that doesn't, it's that maybe that's your why to fit into something, but it's not a long term that is sustainable, healthy, and prevention to get you into that, not get you, to move you into a place in your body that's much more loving and accepting and where you feel good, right? You're like, ooh, this feels good. I like this new, like you said, with a pair of glasses. I like the way this new me looks and feels and relates to the world and has food choices and knows what to drink. I think, and that's the piece when we're creating the real ingrained fun with food, fun with dieting. I don't like the word dieting really, but fun with nutritional changes.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And tapping into like that what you mentioned with okay, the why being the black dress. What I would invite your listeners to think about is similar situation. Forget about the black dress fitting. Step into what it is to walk around feeling great in that black dress.
Exactly.
What's that experience like?
Hmm.
What's it like for you to put it on and what's it like for you to go to the event and what's it like for you to talk to people at the
Hmm.
event?
Hmm.
And then on the flip side, what's it like when it's really not like that? When you don't love what you're wearing or you don't love the way it fits or you just feel like, your body's in some way you just don't feel your best, just period.
Right. Yes, we've all been there, right? Maybe you feel a little
Yeah.
bloated, or it's that time of the month. You're just not feeling you're great. You're like, I gotta go to this party, and I'm not feeling that great.
Right.
Yes, I was talking. This is a total side note, but it might be funny for your listeners out there. I was talking to my mom the other day. I've recently been ill with COVID, and I haven't been hungry over the past like couple weeks, and so I never get on the scale. But I was helping my husband with something, and he needed me to weigh something for him. So I got on. It said I had lost almost 15 pounds, which
Oh,
is, yeah, which for me is I was like, whoa, that's a lot. And I was thinking, I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And so I told my mom I was like putting a nice dress on. I was going to go out and I put in my underwear. And my underwear like fell off. So I was like,
oh,
well, it's a
that's
good thing.
hilarious.
Yeah, good thing I wasn't like out at the party. And I'm like, oh, well, no, those aren't mine.
Exact, step right out of them and just
Yeah,
keep going.
yeah, that's the opposite of what some listeners might be feeling out there. But yeah, I was surprised, but I wasn't concentrating on it or anything. It wasn't something I was looking for. I was just making health changes in my body was purging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, a little funny anecdote
That
there.
is funny.
Yeah. We all got to laugh. Helps us be healthy.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. I'd love for you, Dr. H, to share a success story so that our listeners could really relate. Because I think that really helps the listeners to be able to
Yeah.
understand someone's personal journey. So if you have one, a favorite
Yeah,
one, or just, yeah, I'm sure you have tons, but
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so what comes to mind is this dear woman named Alicia, who
Mm,
she came to see me after the birth of her second child. And she was about, 25 pounds or so heavier than she felt great, 25 to
Mm,
30 pounds. She also was exhausted, but her kids were sleeping. Her older son and her newborn were actually pretty good sleepers. So it wasn't
mhm,
that. Her liver enzymes were elevated and
mm,
she had an ultrasound, did all the things, nothing
mhm.
wrong. They said, don't know, send you on your merry
Right.
way,
We don't
right?
know.
Right.
Just go home.
Yeah, exactly. It's not anything scary.
Yes, your
And
liver
so
should be working well.
right, exactly, exactly. We did a wide variety of tests. We saw that she was not methylating properly, right?
Mhm.
So we didn't do the MTHFR test on her, but we looked at homocysteine, we looked at her B12 and folate, and it just fundamentally speaking, it was like, okay, that's one of the things, liver enzymes elevated. And we also found that inflammation, HSCRP, inflammation was super elevated,
Mhm.
quite a few nutrient deficiencies. So those were some of the key points. Um, she also had elevated candida, which I know
Mm.
it can be so trendy, and I don't find it in everyone, but we did find it with her.
Yeah.
Um, but which wasn't a huge surprise. She was made up of 90% of like simple carbohydrates and sugar, so
Feeding
she
all
just
that
had,
candida every
yeah,
day, right? Yes.
exactly, exactly. But she just had these huge sugar cravings, partially given by the candida and partially because she was so exhausted,
Yeah.
given by crummy methylation, nutrient deficiencies, crummy detoxification pathways, all these different things, right? We got to work, and for her, it really did take about 4 to 5 weeks until the scale started to move. And I
Mhm.
see this with people when inflammation is elevated, right?
Mhm.
We just got to crack the inflammation code because their body's just caught in this vicious circle of inflammation. And
Right.
once we do, it's, oh,
Mhm.
the metabolism starts humming. And that's how
Exactly.
it was with her. And so the scale started to come down, which was great. But also beyond that, energy drastically shifted.
Mm.
She said, I actually never realized, she came to me and she said, I'm a great sleeper, is actually what she said, even though she was tired.
Yeah.
Right. She came after we started working together 5 weeks in. I didn't realize that I really wasn't sleeping that well before. I only now know, having this experience in comparison, like I
Mhm.
sleep great now. I didn't sleep great before, and I thought I was sleeping well before, right? The
Yes.
level of deep sleep she gets. Over time, her liver enzymes have absolutely come down into a normal range. That's another fun thing.
Mhm.
Inflammation has come down into a normal range. One more thing I didn't share, Dr. Lulu, is she was on an anti-anxiety med and had no interest in getting off of it, which was
Mhm.
fine. It was working for her. But, about 3 months in, she said, oh, I actually, I stopped my meds.
She didn't need
I
it
don't
anymore.
need them anymore.
Right.
Exactly. Again,
Yeah.
wasn't on her radar. Totally fine
That
for
happens a
her.
lot. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So she's a great example and someone who we see these kind of things all the time, but it's so exciting. It never gets
Yeah.
old.
I know. Oh, thanks for sharing that. That's a really great story. And I really like the piece that you hit about inflammation, because a lot of times that is a trigger, or a roadblock is even a better word, a roadblock, right? To a lot of things making that shift, because like you said, it's like the icebreaker, we got to break through that inflammation to ignite the body's ability to heal, because they're on this inflammatory tape loop, right? Going nonstop. Inflammation in the body says, oh, wait, I don't have to send that message anymore. I can have a new tape. And so when we start that, then we see so many shifts in the system, feeling better, energy, weight loss. It's just endless, all the things that happen when inflammation is gone. And cortisol, right? That stress component you said about sleep and cortisol, melatonin, it's all connected in there, everybody, all connected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We could just draw like this amazing 3D map of
Yes, mine would be huge. It would probably take up this whole back room back here and blow
right.
people's minds.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yes,
great.
I love mind maps. For me, I use them all the time with patients. It might not necessarily when I'm working with them, but in my own brainstorming, because I'm sure you do too, because like hormones and things like that, we want to see what's working, what's not working. And of course, as doctors, we want to help our patients and teach our patients, but sometimes it can be overwhelming to see in our brains.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a big
Right.
fan of the stick figure drawings and trying to
Yes, here you are. This is what you look like now. This is what you're going to look like with optimal health.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Love it. So, Dr. H, I'd love for us to talk a little bit about genetics and see what your kind of like knowledge is on this piece. So, how have you seen in your practice? You mentioned a little thing about MTHFR, a great little gene that we talk about a lot. Do you have any insight about genetics, maybe like ghrelin or leptin, about how those might be impacting our listeners out there who have done some genetic testing and can see how some specific genes might be turning on or turning off that are impacting their ability to lose weight?
Very good question. And I will say I don't do a lot of genetic testing on those fronts.
That's okay. No problem. Just throwing
Yeah.
it out there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I do tend to look more at okay, what is the phenotypic expression, what's going on, and looking at insulin levels and things like that.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, and tend to go in that way. But I really do. There's just no question there are some genetic anomalies, right? There are some people who I encounter who it really just takes a long time or takes a higher level of diligence, right? Like their body is intolerant of kind of quote unquote sways that other bodies might be able to tolerate. And I think it's probably a combination of things. I do believe there's a genetic component, but I also think some of these people, through no fault of their own, right? Maybe they were born to, maybe they had a single parent home, or maybe both their parents were working, but whatever the case may be, when they were younger, nutrition wasn't a big emphasis in their household, right? So it's almost like their body has this metabolic memory of decades that we're trying to rework entirely. And I think it's probably a little bit of it's genes meeting environment over and over and over and over again for decades that we're trying to rework.
A great point. And I think the metabolic memory, like you said, is so important. I see hundreds of patients with that same scenario, right? Where if they have come into a place of all of those habits being ingrained within them and the genetic code, it can be more challenging to shift the weight sometimes because we have to, like you said earlier, Dr. H, shift the habits. We can't just take the magic purple pill or the red pill, or the blue pill. We have to look at what's the underlying cause. And if it's habitual, then we have to go deeper. Maybe it's trauma. Like you said, it could have been their upbringing. It could have been an eating disorder. There's so many different things when it comes to weight loss, and the social media world doesn't make it easy for us for imaging. I think that is a big component in helping women to be in a place where they love the body that they're in and not always wanting to see it change, right? Oh, if I could just be this, then I would be happy. And that's not a good place for your body to be in, your mind to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it's true for you, Dr. Lulu. It's one of the great things about using your body, whether it's simply for going for a walk or doing formal exercises. When you create that, I know for me, I'm so grateful for my body. I'm so grateful. It lets us, if you don't take care of your body, where are you going to live? But like all the great things that we're able to do. And so really not expressing gratitude because someone said you need to start a gratitude journal and you're just like lying through your teeth about what you're saying.
Right. My life is so great.
Totally. But actually reflecting on, oh my gosh, these bodies are amazing. And all the things they do all the time without us thinking even for a millisecond about it. It's just coming from there and what our bodies are able to do and how we're able to feel in our bodies. It's such a great thing.
Totally. And I think that is I love that point. And the gratitude journaling piece, I think it can be used for some people as a way to envision who they want to be. That's how I work with my patients a little bit about, okay, what can you be? And I love that you said being grateful for the body they're in, but what do you want to be? Who are you in the future? And can you be grateful for that person? That's how I use it when I'm doing my gratitude every day. Okay, who do I want to be? Who do I want to step into? And then how am I grateful for that person? I'm so healthy. I have so much energy. And I'm so grateful for what I can be when I'm that person. And I think people don't always think about gratitudes in that way. And oh yeah, I'm grateful for my plant. I'm grateful for this, but how can we use it in a way to help us envision the healthier version of ourselves?
Yeah, I love that. That's great. And yeah, and I do love a gratitude journal. So it's
We
using it
weren't dissing on it
appropriately.
out there.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. No, definitely not. And another way that I love what you're speaking to about being like that forward thinking gratitude. And
Mhm.
also, one of the things that I'll have people do is I'll actually have people, sometimes I call it count my wins or like an acknowledgement, but it's like a shade of gratitude.
Mm.
In having people actually acknowledge themselves for actions they've taken. In
Mm.
nobody can call it a win except for you, right?
Right.
If you know that eating 3 pieces of pizza instead of 5 was a win, then that's worthy of acknowledgement. Nobody gets
Exactly.
to
Mhm.
call it a win except for you,
Right.
right? If having 3 glasses of wine instead of 5 is a win, then that's worthy of acknowledgement, right?
Mhm.
So really guiding people to, instead of getting caught up in the where I should be conversation, really looking at claiming the ground, acknowledging yourself, and practicing strengthening that muscle. It's
Mhm.
a little bit like a kiddo learning to walk. It's like we clap for them with every little step. And
Right.
if they fall down, we still clap for them.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we are like cheerleaders in the work
Yes.
that we do. I tell my patients that all the time. I'm your cheerleader. You just reach out to me if you need your cheer for the day, because you got to have
Yes.
somebody have your back when you're doing all this work to change your health, because it's a commitment. It's not something you can just wave a little handkerchief in the wind. Yeah, this is the best thing. It does take work. It takes work to be healthy, but that's the habitual piece, I think. It's like when you start in the beginning, it might seem like so tiresome, so much work. Oh, I really have to change this. And then you feel the change, and then you are the change, be the change. It's like that, the steps
Yes.
so much. Wow. When I do
Mhm.
this, I feel so amazing. It's so worth it. Like for me, if I get up an extra 30 minutes in the morning, I have my own, my time, me time. I'm like, for me, that makes a world of difference. And I notice it. And then I'm like, I slept in, like, but I didn't get my time to meditate. Like for me, it's those little things for me that I find are the highlights of my day.
Yeah. Love that.
Yes.
Hmm.
The little blessings that we see along the way. Ding, 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 ding.
Totally.
Yes.
Hmm.
I'd love for us to talk, Dr. H, about some obstacles. We've talked about a lot of things, I think, today. And what would you say you see in your practice are three? Let's do two, because there's so many. What are like some two obstacles that you see that your patients really have when it comes to shifting their ability to lose weight, or maybe even the desire? What are some of those main ones you see that are more maybe repetitive? You see them continually in patient from patient.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want physiological or either anything? Oh gosh.
Anything.
Oh my
It's up to
gosh. Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two. I
Okay.
had said
There's
two
so
because I knew
many.
you'd have a million. But yeah.
Right. So one thing I would say is a recurrent barrier or obstacle is collapsing morality with this area of their life, right? And
Mhm.
by that, how would we know they're doing that? In their language, they would say something like, I was so good, I was so bad. That food is
Mm,
so good, that food is so bad. I
right.
cheated. Oh, I
Ah,
was like all of that, right? The
yes.
good, bad, cheated. That is all the language of morality.
Hmm.
And the thing is that there is no morality in what you are doing around your health or not, in what you are eating around your health or not, or about to afford your health or not,
Hmm.
whether you're sleeping sufficiently for your body or not. There is no morality there. It's just that certain actions produce certain outcomes when done
Hmm.
consistently, right? So
Hmm.
actions
Right.
produce outcomes. And the quote unquote problem with that collapse is that it's not just useless, it is useless,
Hmm.
but it's also a deterrent, right? It
Yes.
actually cripples people because it causes the experience of shame, and that interferes with everything.
Exactly.
And so when people can start to see that and let go of those conversations, and start to think about, does this choice align with my intention or not? And things exist in grays, right? It's gray shades of gray. It's not always black and white, right? The example of where someone is in their journey is really important to honor, right? It's again, going back to the learning to walk, analogy. It's in no reality would we expect a toddler to run a marathon. That's like a
would
silly
take a long time.
consideration, right? Yeah, exactly. To take a nap along the way and get some juice and
Oh, that sounds
whatever.
good. That's the kind of marathon I need.
Truly. But so it's just acknowledging wherever you are in your health journey is totally fine. And so giving up any shoulds around where you should be, any thoughts around where you should be, and just taking that next step that is more aligned with your intention and more aligned with your intention. And noticing when the conversations about good, bad, should, shouldn't come up in this area of life, and seeing if you can let them go, like just a little bit. If you had a leaf in your hand and you just would turn your hand over and let it fall on the ground,
right?
That's just that simple, right?
Yes.
Can we be that gentle but also clear about what we're doing with this thing that doesn't really serve us? So that's definitely a recurring, I would say, conversational obstacle. I say that there's this inherited force field in the area of health, right?
Yes.
And this is part of it, this morality thing. And so to speak to another obstacle that's definitely in this area is something like the screw it conversation, right? That's a big obstacle. Like I had one cookie, so screw it, I'll just finish the box.
Yeah, no problem. Let's eat the box.
Or like I had pizza, so screw it, I'll just have a hot fudge sundae also. It's any of those kind of screw it conversations. It's so fun when people get to hear that and start to disrupt it and start to say, oh yeah, no, I had pizza. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm done. I'm just gonna have I'll have some water and maybe I'll have some hot tea or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Right. It becomes, when they see that there's no forbidden food, right? Like you actually can have XYZ anytime. You have a say. When I say you can, you have a say, right? You really can do.
That's right. We're in control.
Yeah, exactly. So when people start to see that screw it conversation and notice how often it might come up, but then also create a pause and make a choice that is more aligned with their intention and just flex that muscle over and over again. It's so cool to see.
Those are great. I really like those two obstacles, especially the screw it obstacle, because I think that's really super common. I'm sure listeners out there, oh my God, I totally use that one. And your awareness piece, because I think it's easy, especially vacation. I think that's a really huge one for people, right? It's like, oh, I'm going on vacation, screw it. I can just eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, which is great on vacation. But then how can you switch it up so that if you were empowered on your vacation, maybe you were a better player in your team family dynamics, or you had more energy to play with your kids in the pool or whatever it was. I think that is a big place for vacations. I know you were clapping your hands. Yeah, totally. Vacations is a screw it mentality.
Totally, absolutely. And it's so interesting, Dr. Lulu, right? We can see over time, different environments have different conversations that go with it, right? The vacation conversation, the birthday conversation, the anniversary conversation,
girls' night out,
the holiday the holiday conversation, the girls' night, the Friday night conversation, right? It's my
movie
goodness. Night. In all of this, so much of this is part of what I call the all or nothing approach, right?
Yes.
The fundamentally deprivation or overindulgence. These are the two options people are working with. But I promise, and I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, Dr. Lulu, right? There is actually a third option, and it's called your middle ground, right?
Yes, right.
Because
not all or nothing, right?
Yeah, deprivation doesn't feel good. Overindulgence doesn't feel good. They both are an expression of self-aggression.
Yeah.
There is a place for indulgence. That's different than overindulgence. Very different.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And then I think that comes from that self-love and self-care place that we were talking about too. It's how, when you're treating yourself a specific way, how does it feel, right? Whether that's indulgence, overindulgence, limiting yourself. And I think all of those are good places to explore as you're on your health journey, and especially with weight loss. Okay, how do I feel when I eat that? What was my outcome? What was my
Mhm.
mentality going into it? How did I make my friends in my environment feel? Shaming them for what I'm eating or shaming myself. I see that a lot with my girlfriends when I go, oh, I can't eat that, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, you can, but how is it going to make you feel? Or what's the change that you're going to have when you do eat it or drink it?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And you just said that was said so well there. I love that because it is interesting when we start inviting other people into our journey. And I really do believe our health journey is a sacred journey.
Mhm.
And so people need to feel good about sharing what they want to share when they want to share it.
Exactly.
And oftentimes, when people can come back to in conversation, people have all kinds of stuff about what you're eating and not eating. And it's, oh my gosh, it's hilarious. But one of the things I find when people start to say, when I just feel good. That's why I'm doing this.
Exactly.
I'm doing this thing because I
I
feel
feel
good.
good. Right.
No one's going to argue with you, right? Who's going to
Exactly.
tell you to do the thing that makes you feel badly?
Yes,
No one.
I love that you said that. And that's a great, you can use that expression or that saying in lots of different things, right? It doesn't have to be just about food or drinking. You can
Yeah.
use it in any scenario where it empowers you. That makes me feel good when I act that way or do that specific thing. And that's really important. Very empowering as women for sure. Dr. H, I know we could talk forever, but I want us to make sure we hit some highlights here. But we have two last questions, of course, for you. So one is your superpower. So if you could grant everyone a superpower to enhance their health journey, what would it be?
Yeah. So the superpower I would grant everyone is the ability to play their best game now.
Mm,
And now and now and now, right?
yeah.
So really living that as a question, what is my best game right now?
Hmm.
And that's something you can bring to your movement, you can bring it to your sleep, you can bring it to your nutrition, you can bring it
Hmm.
to there's just really no area of your life you can't bring it to, but really playing that game, what is my best game now, and having strengthening that muscle and having that just be a natural lived question.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Yes. Be here now.
Mm-hmm.
Live in the now, live in the moment, live in the present. That's
Mm-hmm.
so great. I love that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take that and I'm going to live it the rest of the day today myself.
Awesome.
Yes. Okay. So if you had an unlimited budget, Dr. H, what would you do right now to make the biggest impact on our planet?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I would make incredibly delicious, nutrient dense
Mm,
food available all over the place in a very easy fashion, right?
mhm.
Because I think about, okay, the health in our country changed drastically at an inflection point in time where fast food became abundant and
Right.
cheap and things like that. Fundamentally speaking, I would make delicious nutrient dense food cheap and available all over the place, and the other stuff I would get rid of all of
Yes. Ding, you get that one. I totally support that one. 100%. I'll give you the
it.
unlimited funds for that. Yes.
Yes.
Salad
Uh-huh.
bar to replace the burger joint.
Totally,
Yeah, that would
and like
be great.
amazingly delicious ones.
Yes.
Oh,
You can still have a healthy burger.
oh yeah, for
Not decent
sure.
burgers, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely it's all about how the intention that you put into the food, right? The quality of the food,
Mhm.
where it comes from, who's working there, the environment. There's so many pieces to that go into a healthy meal.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's tell our listeners how they can find you, stalk you on Instagram and Facebook, website. Tell us that good stuff first.
Yeah. So Instagram is at Well Empowered. Website is wellempowered.com. Those are the two main places I hang out.
Great. Okay, good. We'll make sure to follow you there, listeners. You can tune in if you missed that. We'll put it in the show notes for you. And then tell us about your upcoming course, which is called Eating, Sanity, and the Holidays, as we're moving into the holiday season, which is we got Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, all kinds of stuff.
Yes, exactly. So after Thanksgiving, but right after Thanksgiving, I'm going to be launching a course called Eating Sanity in the Holidays. And this is for listeners who, if you look back at, we were talking about, okay, the environment that is vacation, right? The environment
Right.
that is the holidays, right? If
Yeah.
for you, typically it's like downward spiral from Thanksgiving until January 3rd, right?
Mhm.
If that's how it's gone for you in the past and you are just ready for a different reality this year, this is for you. So if you're interested in that, please do reach out. You can text us at 312-967-8000 or email us at we@wellempowered.com. That'll go to my assistant, Erin, and she always tags me in and we get in conversation that way.
Great.
And yeah,
Love it. That sounds like a super fun course and so needed because the holidays can be stressful. So when it comes to eating and parties and family gatherings, so what a great way to make the holidays healthy and happy ones. And tell us about, you also have a great 30-minute consultation. Tell us about that.
yes. So if you go to wellempowered.com, you'll find the link right away. You can schedule a complimentary Zoom consultation to explore working together. And anyone who's interested in that, please feel free to do.
Great. I love that, Dr. H. Thank you so much for coming on the Genetic Genius podcast, being such a wonderful guest. I really loved our conversation today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lulu. Likewise, we are cut of the same cloth, totally jazzed up about the same stuff. And it's been such a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, it was totally a pleasure. We'll have to have you back on again someday soon. Okay,
I
thank you
love
so
it.
much. Yes,
Thank you. Have a great one.
you too.